one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special edition
Wow.
War of the Stars.
All I'm seeing is 1-800-WE-ARE-18 commercials in my head with that voice.
Wow, this is a great way to start the show.
Oh, shit.
Relax. Grab yourself, maybe a nice, pour yourself.
Grab yourself, you just left it right there, I swear. Oh, god damn it. We can keep going? Let's keep going.
Keep going.
All right.
Roll.
That's right, folks. This is our anniversary show where we're here to make you feel good.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that is right today.
Oh, my God.
The cocklust is strong.
This is...
The cocklust is strong with this one.
After 3 months, ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here. The War of the Stars anniversary show.
That sounds way more energetic and geeky. I like it. Sounds better.
All right. I want to do this whole romantic thing, and even have like music playing in the background, but have it be the some Star Wars theme song, like maybe the Cantina song in the background.
Oh yeah, that's totally romantic.
Hey,
Yeah,
you're obviously not a
totally
true Star Wars nerd if you don't
goes.
think the Cantina song is not romantic.
I'm a true Star Wars fan, man. I boned a freaking Yub Nub.
That's got a good rhythm for it.
It's got good rhythm. Plus, you get little cheers in the middle of it, so you feel like you're accomplishing something.
Oh my God.
And there goes our one viewer. I just got us.
God.
Hey,
Whippy. Hefty.
Hey, don't feel bad, guys. Just remember, as you're watching this episode, it's only costing you $3.99 per minute.
No, it's $3.99 for the first minute, 99 cents each additional minute. No, actually, you know it's going to cost about $3.50. It's like herding cats today.
You guys, do you guys accept checks? You guys accept personal check? Don't cash it till the 15th.
Do you prefer whipped cream or syrup? I prefer syrup.
Hey, are we gonna talk Star Wars?
No.
Oh, fair enough.
have you been on this podcast before, Brian?
I think I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
Okay. Let's be serious and let the host actually introduce the show.
Yay!
The Force is one. I am one with the Force. Anyway, we are coming to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eye of the Galactic Empire. And yes, as we have tried to say and said a few times now, it is our 1-year anniversary show. Finally, about a month late. But close enough, right?
Who's counting?
Yeah, right. So for today's show, our first show we basically talked about our history with Star Wars and what kind of brought us to the franchise. So in a way, I'd like to kind of revisit that and talk about what we love about that galaxy far, far away. So let's just start off the conversation right there. Brian, what is it that you love about Star Wars?
Are you supposed to introduce everyone first?
Oh, right.
For shame.
I know.
He's multitasking. He just introduced Brian as he asked the question.
That's right.
Yeah. See, I got your back.
Yeah. And I think most of us have been on this show enough that they know who pretty much everyone is. But for those of you who don't...
All three of you.
Wow, that's 2 more than I have.
I'm counting the personalities of Richard J.
Then yeah.
So, but for those of you who don't know, joining me on the panel today is, of course, the aforementioned Brian Miller, host of the Star Wars Canon Library and Journal of the Jedi. Also joining us today is the host of That Trans Geek Girl.
One of them.
One of the hosts, Miss Christina Tali. And, of course, the co-host here at War of the Stars and also the host of Breaking the Fourth Wall, heard exclusively on SoundCloud and Patreon.
$1 will do you. $1 will do you.
And if you guys donate $10 a month, Chris will do a new show. Guess what went in my butt?
That's what Breaking the Fourth Wall is. But the only way you're going to find out the answer is if you donate in the Patreon.
That's right.
I'd pay to watch you shove a pack of Skittles up your ass. That could be really interesting to watch.
I'm going to shove them up my pee hole, and I'm going to shoot them out my butt one
There we
Skittle
go.
at a
There's
time.
my choice, and then empty it. Can vape out your butt.
All right.
Mr.
Oh
Christopher Stolle.
That's me, and you know what? I love milking nipples and blinking murder bears. That's what I love about Star Wars.
Oh, Christ.
I don't get paid enough to do this.
I don't either.
I don't get paid anything. Chris.
I just have to say one thing. It's a good thing that we're not getting totally monetized on YouTube right now, because there went our monetization.
Wait, YouTube
Yeah.
actually allows monetization? I swear to God, every video of ours gets hit for something. We heard somebody fart in the background, and that was once a joke in a Mel Brooks movie, so you can't monetize this video.
And there goes our complaint for this video. Good job, Chris. Good job.
Give me time. We'll finish it out.
Yeah, we're only just 5 minutes into recording, so.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Come on.
All right. So, as I was saying, Brian, what is it that you love about Star Wars?
Penis.
The fact that in Return of the Jedi, Ula the Twi'lek is the first character ever to show both nipples. No. No. Oh, look. To get serious here for a second, because somebody has to. Star Wars, for me, like I said on our first episode, when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot. I was the shortest kid in my class, and because I was, into stuff. I mean, I hadn't seen Star Wars yet at this particular point, but because I was into stuff, like Star Trek and comic books and whatnot. When Star Wars was introduced into my life, it was something that was kind of a getaway for me, where I would come home from bullying every day, and it was an escape. Every stick I ever picked up was a toy lightsaber. After that, every toy I bought was Star Wars. Every picture I drew was Star Wars. I mean, everything. And as I grew older and matured somewhat, if you want to use the word matured, physically, not so much mentally.
I was about to say they just got
Yeah.
5 minutes of an episode proving that wrong.
No, it's something that has really stuck with me, and now that we're getting new movies and stuff like that, and so much new material, it means a lot more to me now than it did even back then, and that's really all I can say is just it's something that no matter who you are or what you do, it's a common ground between between any and all Star Wars fans.
Yeah. I agree.
So.
I agree totally there. It's I've said this before. It's you can look even at this panel, and you've got people from different parts of the country. Different beliefs, different views on different things, but we all come together because we have one thing. We at least have one thing in common. We all
have nipples.
Yes.
Just mine are bigger than yours.
I've seen them. They are.
I don't know how you saw them, and I don't want to know.
I want to know how'd that happen.
This one time at flute camp.
That sounds like a sexy time.
Wow. Anyway, Chris, same question. What is it about Star Wars that drew you to it, and what is it that still keeps bringing you back?
Furry Wookiee cookies.
If he gets any close to his mic, he'll actually stick it in his mouth.
Jeez.
I only have one nut. No, Star Wars has always resonated with me since I was a kid. I mean, I'm the oldest person on the panel here. I've been around with the original trilogy. I'm the exact same age as Episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's been a portion of my life for so long. I couldn't even imagine a world without it. Quite honestly, I mean, the worst to me, Star Wars is like pizza or sex. Even the worst of it is still pizza or sex.
I don't know. I've had some pretty shitty pizza and some pretty shitty sex.
Yeah, and I've seen some pretty shitty Star Wars stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I hate Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Everything. My life has revolved around this franchise. George Lucas created my childhood. People say, "Oh, you ruined my childhood." No, you created my childhood, and you even now through Kathleen Kennedy and Disney and what Lucasfilm is doing now, you allow me to relive my childhood even in my 40s.
Yeah.
Even for only a couple hours. Star Wars is just it. When I was a kid, it was life. When I'm an adult, it allows me to be a kid again and allows me to share it with my children now.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
That's my answer. And furry Wookiee cookies.
Furry Wookiee cookies are good.
Mark doesn't know where to go with that.
I have no idea. No idea. Not a clue.
You know something?
Christina!
It just comes to show that Chris there is a Wookiee sexual.
Hey. I like him being able to drop me square on my head.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Moving along. Christina, same question.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to be serious about this one for once. Like growing up for me, it was something that completely captured my imagination. I remember as a kid, like sitting there drawing out like these like huge TIE Fighter X-Wing space battles with little, very crudely drawn like X-Wings and like little X's for X-Wings and like little basic shapes for TIE Fighters and having them like drawing lines between them all and shooting each other.
Oh, you did that shit too?
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah.
That and I used to build like try to build different Star Wars ships out of like basic crap like paper towel rolls and toilet paper rolls and glue and stuff like that. I mean, it captured my imagination, plain and simple, and it was something that growing up I loved. I remember watching the original Unbutchered, episode 4. While Han shot first. I still remember singing Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I remember the excitement in the 90s when episode 1 came out. Being all excited, like, oh my God, there's going to be a new Star Wars movie. I have to go see it. And I'm not getting into that.
The collective groan afterwards.
Why? Metachlorians, why? But the point is, like, Star Wars captured my imagination. Like, there is a very special place in my heart for the entire series. Whether it be, one movies as amazing as the original trilogy, or even as bad as the Star Wars Christmas special.
La 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 la.
Hey, B. Arthur was in there. Give it a chance.
I did.
It's pretty bad. I actually use that to punish my kids when they're bad around Christmas. Like, if you don't behave, I'm putting the Star Wars Christmas special in.
Oh my God! I hear little kids just giving that Vader no cry from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh. That's okay, but we can't spank them. Okay, that makes all the fucking sense.
Yeah, 2 hours of that mess. The cool thing is, the copy I actually have on DVD, just going on a small tangent, actually has all the original commercials in it. And I guess the clothing union strike was going on during that time, so there was like a whole bunch of these union commercials about like why these people are on strike. And there's like original toy commercials, so it was kind of cool to watch. It's like a slice of history accidentally recorded on a really crappy Christmas special.
Wow. Well,
what about you, John?
What about you?
What about me? Well, like Chris, I grew up with Star Wars. I'm also, like Chris, the same age as Episode 4.
So am I.
And In fact, the very first live action, quote unquote, grown-up movie that I saw was Return of the Jedi.
Thought it was Deadly from Dallas.
Well, I was about 6 at the time, so I don't know.
I don't see one cowboy in that movie.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the Ewok movies too.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a kid, both Ewok movies were awesome as a kid. As an adult, they're still kind of cool.
But I remember that was the first one that I remember going to see in the theater, and I remember distinctly being terrified of the Emperor. That was the one thing that I remember, was being terrified of the Emperor. But yeah,
she looked like my grandmother.
Yeah.
Did your grandmother run around the house with a robe on yelling absolute power too?
Pretty much.
Unlimited power! You want some cookies, Christina?
Good! Let the cookies flow through you!
Flow through you. I can feel your anger.
I can feel the milk.
Oh, did this
That's
just get dirty?
weird.
Wow. This just got... Anyway, Star Wars... To get serious here for at least a minute.
Yeah.
I tried.
How long have we been recording?
I don't fucking know.
I don't
I am
know.
recording, aren't I?
Yeah, you are recording.
Too long.
I was going to say, however long we've been recording, if you haven't figured out by now we can't get serious for a minute, there's no hope for you.
Wow. Yeah.
Just give your side to the stupidity and shit. And stuff. And thanks.
And stuffy things?
And stuff and thanks.
When 900 years old you reach, stupid the show will still be. And I don't mean Warren Star.
I'm calling it now. This is officially the worst Star Wars podcast ever.
I don't know, Brian. That sounds like a challenge after this. We're supposed to do Journal of the Jedi.
Oh no! Hold my beer.
Thank God I'm not on that show. I might be a guest coming up just to make the show even more stupid.
Hey, if you got Battlefront 2 on PS4, come join us.
I do not even have a PS4.
I have a PS2.
I'm sure that'll link up.
And my Xbox One just crapped out. So I'm completely out of both
Mark
consoles.
is closer to joining us than
I have a
Christina is.
360 right now. That's it. It's the only thing that's working.
Wow.
No, and my
pissed.
PS2 is not working anymore either. So I have a Wii U.
I got a Wii U.
I have
my kids
I
have
have
a
the
Wii
R2D2 360. That's the only console I have that still freaking works. That's hooked up.
I got an Atari.
I have one of those, and I have a Nintendo, and I have other stuff like that. But no, like my Xbox One, I used in the living room just for,
Welcome to Press A Gaming.
Yeah.
And then it went no more. So it works for like 20 minutes. Honestly, and GameStop's gonna fucking kill me for this, but I don't care. But it worked for 20 minutes, so I did the only thing I could. I boxed it up. I walked to GameStop and said, "Here, can I trade this in?"
Damn.
$150.
Damn. Now, some little kid saved up all his hard-earned allowance money from mowing lawns and being nice to his little sister to get his first Xbox, and he's going to get that piece of shit.
Well, guess what? You know something? He could return it and get another one. Unless he absolutely wanted the Battlefield 1 limited edition.
Hey, if he ain't smart enough to buy a PS4 in the first place, he deserves to have the fucked up 360.
It's a 1 out of 360. It was a 1S.
I don't care.
It was only like 2 years old. It fucking pissed me off.
All right, anyway,
You
Star
should've-
Wars.
Star Wars. Yes. Star Wars.
Somebody please get the show back on the rails.
Star Wars.
No, the goal is today to derail as much as possible. Let's see if we
We
can
are
do it.
derailing. We're trying
Chris,
to
when you
make
edit
fun of-
this video, please put a counter at the bottom how many times we managed to derail the show.
I'm telling you, there's going to be a countdown before War of the Stars is canceled. You'll never see the second anniversary show.
This is why I'm not inviting you guys. This is why I'm not inviting Chris on the Trans Geek Girl anniversary show in June.
That's because I refuse to shave my legs.
but you will stick stuff up your butt. Go figure.
Well, we all have to have standards.
Bing! There's another derail.
So
You know what? I'm going to make Richard J. record another video for us where he just sits there and looks dead at the camera and goes, "What the fuck?" That'll be the counter every time we go off the rails. What the fuck? Sorry, Radiocast.
yes.
Meow.
Wow.
Let's try to salvage your 1-year anniversary show
Yes.
I don't think I can. This is like a fiery train wreck already, and I love it. I love chaos.
But yeah, I honestly don't, getting kind of serious here. I can't remember life without Star Wars. I do not know life without Star Wars of some kind. And like Christina said, it was, in the 90s when the new trilogy came out, and how exciting that was, and even with the new trilogy coming out, and the amp for that, and everyone just so excited, and whether you liked Last Jedi or hated Last Jedi, whether you liked the prequels or hated the prequels, it's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan right now. It's and going forward, it looks like we've got Star Wars movies going until who knows how long. Who knows how long. We'll probably be dead and gone before they even stop making Star Wars
Well, at least
movies.
until they stop making money.
Yeah.
It's Disney we're talking about here.
Yeah.
God, I hope we're not dead and gone before they stop. I want to see how it ends.
It'll never end.
Yeah.
It's a continuing saga. It will never actually end because there'll always be a next chapter. It's not something you can actually end.
Yeah.
Chris, no, I don't want to be here when Star Wars ends. I don't want to. I don't have to mourn the death of my Star Wars. That's like saying, "Oh yeah, my wife's gonna die. I hope I live longer than she does, so I can watch her die." Yeah, no. I don't want to be around when Star Wars.
Okay,
ends.
let me put it to you this way. Think of your favorite TV show that got canceled midway through the season, and you never got to see how it ended.
Yeah, I didn't want to see it.
That ended on a cliffhanger. That's how Star Wars would be to me if I dropped.
In other words,
dead before-
Firefly.
Yeah, in other words, Firefly.
I don't care.
And you don't get a second chance at life to get Serenity.
No,
That ain't
don't
even
care. I would
right.
rather.
Chris, that ain't even right, dude.
I would rather die before the penultimate installment of Star Wars.
Well, there's so many
'Cause I
stories
don't-
to be
I
told,
don't
like
think my
so
heart
many
could
stories
take
that can be retold from Legends.
Yeah.
That, there's a lot of momentum behind it still.
Yeah.
Brian, you're our library guy.
Yeah.
How many Legends books were there prior to them being
200
decanonized?
153, I think.
Okay, so
255.
153 separate stories that Disney
Yeah.
can pull off of at any given time, whether it be Rogue Squadron books or Tales of the Bounty Hunter or any of those anything else. I mean, there's so much material already out there, which Disney can go, hey, you know something? Let's do this. Let's do a whole Rogue Squadron series, but we're going to change it around a little bit to make it actually more fit canon.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I had an interesting topic we can talk about as well, which I thought about at work today.
What's that?
Okay, so we talked about, like, we kind of made a joke about the Star Wars Christmas special and how certain things, even certain movies, are not canon anymore. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, when, like...
Sorry, she keeps mentioning the Christmas special.
No, just hear me out. Okay, so at what point did they decide that things needed to be canon, do you think? And obviously when Star Wars Episode 4 came out, okay, there was no idea of like, oh, well, there has to be things that are canon. Otherwise, I'm sure that the Christmas special, which followed on the same year, would have been a hell of a lot different. Let's be honest. And I'm sure they wouldn't have used nearly as much makeup on Luke. But then all of a sudden, when they started having continuity, they started actually running the canon, and all of a sudden, then they said, "Oh, well, we got to change the canon," and then all of a sudden, when Disney took over, it was like, "Oh, we got to get rid of all this, keep this base, and then move on."
What happened was Star Wars didn't actually have a quote-unquote canon until, I want to say, the early 90s. Well, they had the role-playing game come out. The actual, like, you roll the dice role-playing game for it.
Yeah.
And at that point, they had so many details about ship names and technology and character names. And they gave every single background character a name, for that game. So at that point, that's when everybody wanted to start keeping up with these characters. And that's when the expanded universe really took off. And even the expanded universe, though, was never canon. It was never actually canon to begin with. And even George Lucas has said, I never kept up with any of that. I just did my own thing. And then they tried to fix their stuff around what I was doing. So, none of that was ever really canon. It was just when Disney took it over, because we already had all of these novels and books and everything and these other comics, they realized they couldn't do stories based off of that because they wanted to go in their own direction with it. So that's when they said, we're going to erase everything else, and everything from now on is going to be canon. It's the first time it's ever been done in pop culture. This is the first time it's ever been done for anything, where everything is canon. Even with Star Trek, the novels were never canon with Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well, see, you hit the nail right on the head. Back during the extended universe and all the video games and all the role playing games and the trading cards and stuff like that. Yeah, giving names to backstory characters and everything else definitely sold more toys and sold more interest in merchandise. But at the same time, the only canon was what Lucas was putting out in the theaters. Yep. That was the only canon.
And even some of that's no longer canon now. I mean, that's the point. For example, the Ewok movies. The Ewok movies were produced under Lucas. However, they are no longer canon.
They weren't theater.
Yeah, they were. I saw them in the theater.
Yeah, those went theater.
I thought they were made for
the
TV.
Other thing, though,
no, they were theater.
Okay.
But the other thing is, the EU, they made stories about every single character. Even, in Return of the Jedi, when Luke picks up the skull in the Rancor pit and throws it at the controls to slam the door on the Rancor, somebody even went back and wrote a story about the guy that skull belonged to. The guy that skull was and how he got there. It's crazy how many stories they wrote.
Now, what book was this?
And I don't remember. Hang on, I'll look it up real quick, because I remember them saying that was. I mean, they wrote a story about that guy. Hang on, let me look real quick.
Oh, and Brian, not to correct you.
I'll find it.
Brian, not to correct you, but as the person who has all the Extended Universe books on his tablet, it's 256 books.
Oh, it's 256?
256 EU books.
Wow.
My bad.
Wow.
That's a lot.
No,
I
I'm
will
just
be
more
long
like,
since dead
wow,
before-
Chris just schooled our librarian.
He's our canon librarian.
Well, no, I'm a canon guy, not an EU guy.
I'm going to be fair here. He's the canon guy. I won't battle with him on current canon.
Here we go. I got the guy's name. Okay, so let's see here. The guy's name that the skull belonged to was Bidlow Quirv. It says, and there's an article here. It says, thanks to a wildly obsessive fan base that craves cataloging and detailing every inch of the movies, everyone in the Star Wars galaxy has their own story. Today we'd like to take some time to honor Bidlow Quirv, a man who helped defeat the Empire by using his head. Well, by Luke using his head more specifically. You've probably never thought much about it. It's literally on screen for roughly 4 seconds and of the 136-minute long Return of the Jedi. But the skull that Luke Skywalker tosses at a control panel to kill Jabba's Rancor is one of the most important items in the entire Star Wars saga. The skull literally saves Luke's life, ensuring the downfall of the Galactic Empire and the survival of the Jedi Order. So we thought until a year ago. It was also had an owner named Bidlow Quirv, a man with a storied past. And because he was an expanded universe character, he knew Han Solo too. Let's see. Because
everybody knew Han Solo.
Yeah, everybody did. Even Yoda did in the EU. Created for background purposes in the old West End Games Star Wars role-playing game source books, Bidlow was a Corellian smuggler and the employee of Jabba, a loyal retainer. Quirv constantly jostled, blah blah blah. So he was a smuggler that Jabba, I guess, got pissed off at and fed him to the Rancor.
Well,
So,
here's an
but
interesting.
yeah, he had a backstory.
Well, actually, you just brought up. You just made me think of something because you said like every character, every little character had its own story, and that was the premise of probably one of my all-time favorite Star Wars games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually still staying on Star Wars with this, which was Star Wars Galaxies. I mean, that was a game I've never put so much time into a game in my life as that game. Like I'm talking, I think probably 7 years I played that.
Yeah.
Like religiously, and I was there the day the service opened, and I was online on the game till the second the servers went offline. And it was the most like, I swear it had to be the saddest thing in game I've ever seen in my life and experience. Like I was actually in tears because I remember I was standing on Corellia. It's the last like couple minutes of the game. I was in Corellia around like probably I would say 200-300 other players. We're all standing there and just flying over top. It's just X-Wings after X-Wings after X-Wings. And we're all sitting there talking, and we're all kind of like, we knew the end was coming. There was no way to explain it. But the point what I was making is, I was getting a little sidetracked that time. But the point I was making with this game, the way they marketed it. Ding. The way they were marketing it was like, now it's time to sell, to write the greatest Star Wars tale, yours. So, you entered into the Star Wars world as your own character, and you made your own path. Whether it was Imperial, whether you became a Jedi, whether you just were a humble crafter making starship parts. And it was, no other game has accomplished what that game has done. And that was a Star Wars game. I mean, I've never seen a game where you could drive through Tatooine on your land speeder or on your swoop and drive right through a player town. Like a completely, fully laid out player town. Not an instance, like an actual player town. I have never seen that done anywhere else. So, my little later memory of love with Star Wars there.
Well, if the rumors stay true to the fact that they're talking about an open-ended world Star Wars game, you may get the opportunity to go through player-created towns again.
Let's see what happens. But on the other side, there's Star Wars Galaxies is coming back slowly through the player base, and this is something about like the Star Wars fans in general. We're a very dedicated group of people. When it comes to Star Wars fans, we're incredibly dedicated to the game, to the movies, to everything. If it took to a point where a bunch of kids, like bunch of college students, sat around, decompiled the client of Star Wars Galaxies, and wrote the server-side software from the client software, and actually are bringing the servers back online on their own servers. I mean, that just shows you. I don't know if Star Trek Online went down tomorrow, I don't think they would be like, oh, we got to bring this game back. No, it'll be dead. But these guys.
I don't think anybody would notice.
Yeah, that's true too. But I'm just saying, like Star Trek Online or even World of Warcraft. If World of Warcraft got shut down tomorrow, I'm not saying that would happen, but I don't think anyone would actually sit there and take the time and try to rewrite the game to its original form, server side, and republish the game under private servers so they can actually play it.
Yeah.
That just shows the dedication of the fan base. I mean, we go out there, we spend money on, collectibles all the time. Every single one of us here on this podcast right now has, we have our Star Wars gear. We have our, I'm wearing one right now. My episode 7. Yep, there we go. Star Wars elements. Chris, are you wearing a Star Wars shirt? Or you?
I'm wearing Batman.
You suck. You suck. But we all have our collectibles. Me personally, I have a Black Series Anakin/Luke/Rey lightsaber because that's pretty much it. I have an original 1977 poster from the soundtrack. I have a Stormtrooper helmet, like an actual $160 Stormtrooper helmet. I have all kinds of collectibles, as you've seen during various backdrops of my show, as well as when I was on Breaking the Fourth Wall, on this show, and everything else. You can actually see the poster hanging up behind me, kind of. I know. I was
about to say
it's right there.
I was about to say I may not be wearing a shirt, but you can see my Vader replica lightsaber hanging on the wall.
Yoda is watching.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That was Yoda.
But I mean, that's just who we are. I mean, that's that's our dedication as a fan base, and I think it's something important for an anniversary show to say things we love about Star Wars. It's something that is very true. The fan base of Star Wars is like no other fan base in the world. You have the 501st Legion out there all over the country, in fact, all over the world. These guys, all they do is cosplay stormtroopers, Imperials, Rebels. Well, I think they have sexual attachments for Rebels, but they just role play this stuff. They go to hospitals, they go to events, they do all kinds of like stuff for the community, in these highly expensive stormtrooper costumes, just because of their love for the entire world of Star Wars, and that's what I'm getting at with that.
Well, also, you're talking about the fan base and the influence that Star Wars has had. I just wonder, how many directors, how many actors, producers, creators can look back and say, if you were to ask them and say, who were your biggest influences, how many of them would say George Lucas, Star Wars?
Look
Star
at Ron
Wars
Howard. Remember after Ron Howard took the helm of Solo, he tweeted like this is a dream realized for him, and he's worked with Lucas before on Willow. And the fact that now he is directing, he knows what Lucas would want. He knows what to do. But, like Ron Howard, perfect example. Pretty much all these current directors we have coming in right now, like Ryan, these are all people that grew up with Star Wars and love the movie so much, and now they're like J.J. Abrams.
Well, like how I've heard the story before, how Star Trek influenced a generation of scientists and astronauts. Star Wars influenced a generation of filmmakers.
Well, Star Wars, who's ever watched the Legends of Tomorrow?
I have, yeah.
Okay, did you see the episode with Lucas? With George Lucas in it?
That one.
I mean, George Lucas did influence scientists, and they showed it in that. If George Lucas never made Star Wars, some of the stuff we had today may not ever have existed.
Yeah.
And that's the truth, because it brought, hey, you know something? This is not a bad idea. We might be able to make this work. I mean, right now, IBM's got this thing going on where they're trying to create Star Wars tech. Like, they're working on an actual working lightsaber. They're working on all kinds of weird stuff like that.
And let's not forget too that even all the tech that was born from Star Trek would not exist without Star Wars, because if Lucas didn't create A New Hope, there never would have been a franchise of films for Star Trek. In other words, there wouldn't be spin-off TV shows like The Next Generation and beyond. Star Trek was dead until Star Wars revitalized it.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I still remember reading it. I was looking through an article a little while ago, and the other thing people don't realize is Disney actually put out their own space opera. About the time that right after Star Wars came out, then they actually swore that this movie was going to be bigger than Star Wars.
And boy, were they wrong.
Yes, they were. And this was a movie called The Black Hole, which I do actually own. It's a really good movie, but it does not hold a candle to Star Wars. But they swore when they released this movie that it was going to be bigger, better than, and Disney tried to grab that and they lost it, so they ended up just taking the whole thing.
Well, to answer your question about who was influenced by Star Wars, have you guys ever watched the Force is With Us little featurette about filmmakers who were influenced by Star Wars? People like Ridley Scott, who without Star Wars would never have made Aliens, or Alien, excuse me, the first Alien. James Cameron would never quit his job as a truck driver and created The Abyss. Peter Jackson would never have taken the helm of Lord of the Rings, which in itself is a cinematic achievement. Influence from Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Star Wars to this day, you said a generation of filmmakers. It's still influencing
and
a
it
generation.
Will. I think it will forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was lightning in a bottle, like Chris has said on a previous episode. The original trilogy was complete lightning in a bottle. There's never, I can't see there ever being a movie that will capture an entire generation's imagination like Star Wars did, or multiple generations, because even today it's still capturing kids' imaginations. I remember a couple weeks ago, my daughter You know, she was playing with my lightsaber, and she was sitting there and goes, I want to be a Jedi when I grow up.
Proud moment.
Oh yeah.
You know, she's sitting there, like, you know, trying to do all this stuff. Like, and when I get them this weekend, they're going to watch Last Jedi. It's just the way it is, you know?
Yep.
They've seen every Star Wars movie. Like I said, they've even watched this Christmas special. You know, they've seen it all. They've seen the Ewoks movie. The only thing they haven't seen yet is, like, Rebels and Clone Wars. Because it's too long of a series, and I only get them, like, every other weekend, so...
It's the same with my daughter. There's two things in this world my daughter loves, and that's Darth Vader and Elsa from the Disney movie Frozen.
Yeah.
So when you ask her who she is, she'll tell you, I'm Darth Elsa.
Well, I sent you that picture a while ago. Which you're supposed to be getting a tattoo of.
Yeah, I'm supposed to eventually.
Yeah.
Once I figure out how to afford all the finances of the company that we try to keep open by having anniversary shows like this, make sure you're checking us out on Patreon. Sorry.
Patreon.
Even though, you know, we need to have as a background is the Benny Hill theme song. On this one.
I want to personally thank Kara right now to let us know that Brian is still on the line.
You guys can hear that, huh?
But yeah, like Christina was saying, it was kind of piggybacking on that. You know, my daughter's getting close to the same way. You know, she's 3, but she knows who Darth Vader is. You know, she knows that she sees Star Wars. She'll say, "Daddy, Daddy, Star Wars. That's your favorite. That's your favorite. Star Wars." She's more of a superhero girl right now, but which is cool. But, you know, she also, you know, she likes Star Wars, and I love that they have now stuff specifically for kids. You know, the Star Wars has always been for kids, but with the Forces of Destiny, you have something that is geared more towards someone her age, maybe a little bit older, but, you know, I like that Star Wars is for everyone.
It really is. I mean,
Star Wars is for everyone.
Just to feed off of that real quick, to go back to December of last year when Last Jedi came out, I went to the theater, and it's just, you know, granted, I went to go see it in Delaware because it was like 5 minutes from my job, but not even. So, but the thing is, like, even there, you know, you saw people who were my age, you know, in their 30s, in their 40s. You saw people with the, you know, younger families with their kids. You saw older people, like people old enough to be our parents there. I mean, that's a huge generational gap. So you had everything from probably like 3-year-olds to 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. Yeah. I mean, that just shows you the power of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Well, it's exactly it. My mother introduced me to Star Wars. My mother loves Star Wars, introduced me to Star Wars, and now I got the pleasure, like she did, of introducing my children to Star Wars.
Hell, I remember, like, I never really got... My brother was 8 years older than me, but I still remember sitting there as a kid with him playing, like, you know, reenacting the whole Rancor Luke thing with the... I had the Rancor monster, and he would have Luke, and we were sitting and reenacting it, like, every single time. And he actually let me get him one time. It was great.
I have a cousin who's probably 10 years older than me, maybe a little bit older. And I remember growing up, he had the Ewok village, and he had the Jabba's palace too.
I had them. I had the Ewok village. I had the Death Star. I had the Ewok village, the Death Star, the Rebel transport. I had the Millennium Falcon. I had the X-wing, TIE fighter, Y-wing. I had the C-3PO case. I had the Darth Vader case. I had so much Star Wars stuff when I was a kid. It was just ridiculous. Yeah. I had the Jabba playset with the throne, and Jabba would sit on it with Salacious Crumb, and the little thing opened up, and you could put a character underneath the Jabba in like the little cage area. I remember going with my mom to the store. And every time we go to the store, she would let me get a Star Wars figure every single time we went to the store. Like, so I went to the department store, I'll come home with a new Star Wars character.
Yeah.
And it was like the most exciting thing in my life.
Oh yeah, yeah. But Yeah, I mean, there's just so much, I mean, to talk about with what we love about Star Wars, and the influence it had, and how it influences us, and how it just affects everyday life for us, and how I we're doing this podcast because of Star Wars.
And how many Star Wars podcasts does Realm of the Mist have?
3.
Yeah.
3.
Out of how many shows?
3.
4.
4 or 5.
And even my show does cover Star Wars from time to time. I just don't limit to Star Wars because we have 3 other Star Wars shows.
Same with Breaking the Fourth Wall. We'll talk Star Wars, but
yeah,
I try to talk about other things because we have 3 shows dedicated to Star Wars.
Yeah, so, I mean, that just gives you an idea. So out of one company, 3 dedicated shows, and the other 2 shows will still touch on it from time to time. Like, I remember right after Last Jedi came out, I had Chris on the show, and I had anyone else on that one? I can't remember if anyone else was on the show that week. I think I was trying to get Brian. I don't think Brian could make it or something. But we talked about why is Star Wars getting so much hate, like with Last Jedi. And I just watched it again this weekend. I love that movie. I just introduced my co-host to it because she actually didn't get to see the newest one due to, just not being able to get to go to the theater. So, we sat here, we watched it on the TV, and she was just like, I loved it. So it just gives you an idea.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's the other thing that I love about it is we can have differences of opinions on different movies. I mean, I enjoyed Last Jedi, but I don't think I loved it as much as maybe you guys did. I found some flaws with it, but I still enjoyed it. But that doesn't make me any less of a Star Wars fan, just because I didn't thoroughly be like, this is the greatest movie of all time with Last Jedi. But it's just something that's just part of our blood.
This is true.
Well, the problem with Star Wars fan base is just like Star Wars, just like the Force itself, is you've got to have a light side and a dark side. And unfortunately, within the fan base, there is a dark side. And that dark side, the best way I can describe it is we all understand that George Lucas created this sandbox.
Yeah.
But here's the difference of Star Wars fans. You have the fans that realize this is George Lucas's sandbox and we're allowed to play in it. And then there's others who think they own the sandbox and it should be their rules and their way. The ones that are that way are the ones that are the purest of the original trilogy, or the ones that if you like anything other than the prequels, you're not a true Star Wars fan, or if you even remotely enjoyed Last Jedi, you're a fake Star Wars fan. These types of people who try to put limitations on a fandom. Yeah. It doesn't matter if your only favorite show, and I know I'm going to make Brian groan on this, which I hope so, just to get some sort of noise out of him. I don't care if you're the only Star Wars show you like is freaking the holiday special. At least you like something Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, though, too. Like, that's actually another good point. Because, there are people out there who prefer the original 3 to the other, 5 movies now?
Yeah.
Not including Rogue One. There's people who prefer Rogue One over the saga. There's people who prefer the Ewok movies over the saga. There's people who prefer Legends over canon. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it's all Star Wars, any way you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I have no problem with those people as long as they say, like you said, is someone could say, well, I only like the Legends, but you like canon, I like Legends. We can still be friends. We can still get along because it's all Star Wars. I just prefer, or like the original trilogy. I prefer the original trilogy. Someone else prefers the prequels, or I prefer the prequels. Someone else prefers the original trilogy. As long as you're not saying, well, just because you don't like this, you're not a true Star Wars fan. I have no problem with someone who just likes one thing, as long as they're willing to accept that other people like other things, and that they're Star Wars fans too.
Well, I think the biggest thing, and Brian, you can agree with me on this, especially being the youngest guy on the panel here. each of us now each generation now will soon have their own trilogy. And again, I'm excluding Rogue One and Solo in this, and the holiday specials and the Ewok stuff. But we all have our own trilogy. People my age and older, we have the original trilogy. People Brian's age, they have the prequels. Our children now have this new saga, this new trilogy. That's 3 generations of Star Wars fans. That to you and me, okay, the sequels and the prequels were inferior to the originals because we got to experience the originals. But you got to remember, the prequels were Brian's originals. The new sequels is our children's first real experience in theater experience to Star Wars.
They were my generation. The prequels were my generation's first Star Wars.
I think what he means is like that was your generation's first experience of seeing Star Wars in the new Star Wars in the theater.
Well, I remember. Well, actually, the first time I saw Star Wars in the theater was the special editions of the classics. So, but I mean, I was already a Star Wars fan at that point. But
point still stands.
Point stands. Yes.
Point still stands. Each generation is getting to experience new Star Wars for the first time in the theater. To them, it's as magical to them. Last Jedi and Force Awakens is as magical to my 8 and 9-year-old as Episode 4 and 5 were to me.
See, the only problem I have with the fandom is the ones that just want to literally crap on because somebody may not like something they like and like something they don't like. Those are the people I have a problem with. But every fandom has people like that. They all have the purists. We all have the people like that. But however, even with the negativity in our community, in the Star Wars community, we all still have that common ground. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, when Episode 9 comes up, even if people are like, oh, I don't like the new trilogy, they'll be there to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's exactly where it is.
Well, see, I don't want to end this on a negative note. So let's talk about the positivity of the fan base too. Christina first pointed out about like the 501st Legion and how they do a lot for charity through their cosplay. Let's also talk about how we as a fan base all got together for that one guy that was dying to be able to see The Force Awakens before he passed away.
Oh God, yeah, I posted about that.
You know, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but that's what we
Daniel
do.
Wasn't he like a Vietnam vet, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I think so.
No. His name was Daniel Fleetwood. He was like my age, but he had some kind of cancer that he wasn't. They said that he should have passed away in June of that year, but he kept going, and he just kept going, and the doctors couldn't figure out why he kept going, and his wife was saying it's because he wants to see the new Star Wars. That's the reason, and that's why they started the campaign for him and everything, and that's why he got to see it early, and then he passed away 2 days later.
Because he got to see his movie.
He got to see it, yeah.
And I think we did that again as a fan base for The Last Jedi as well for somebody else. Like it's actually becoming a traditional
That was
thing.
The Last Jedi.
No.
Daniel was Force Awakens. Yeah.
So I mean, that's something we do as a community. Is when one of us are down and out in some way, shape, or form, or like part of a Make-A-Wish Foundation or something of that nature, we pull together for it.
I mean, even like go to any Comic-Con, doesn't matter how big or small it is. You can go to the smallest little like college Comic-Con, like I was at Cecil Con last week, which the episode actually will be uploaded tonight. I just forgot to upload it. And the 501st will be there. Like, almost guaranteed. Like, I have never been to a con that the 501st hasn't popped up at somewhere. Like they haven't. Like they always have a table. They always are sitting there, like, you know, pushing just pushing that love of the Star Wars community.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're out there in full gear. You know, full gear no matter how hot it is. I remember Dover Comic Con last year. Perfect example where the 501st was there. It was like almost 100 degrees. As it was, like I was walking around in a skirt and a tank top, and I was dying when I was there. Like, if you actually watch that video I put out, like I start out pale, by the end of it, I'm freaking red because I'm cooked. Yet these guys are walking around in full stormtrooper armor. There was a guy dressed as a Wampa. Like, perfect Wampa costume, which was hysterical. They have footage of him trying to get in. I was taking pictures, and he was trying to get in the elevator, and there was somebody else in the elevator, and he's looking at him, and the guy just darts out of the elevator. He's like, want to go in the elevator? The other people are like, no, we'll wait. Because they had the blood and everything on it. It was freaking amazing.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, like, those guys, I mean, that takes a lot of commitment on their part. Like, they build this stuff. This is not just like, oh, I'm just going to go to the store and buy stormtrooper armor. No, they build it, and it has to be to a certain spec. For them to become official 501st Legion, whatever garrison they're becoming a member of, that uniform they're wearing, whether it's a stunt trooper or a hero trooper, has to be perfect. And I know this because I was trying to join the 501st. I literally just couldn't afford to do it, but... So yeah, I mean, it has to go. You have to go through inspections. There's certain things you have to do with it. There's certain ways everything has to look for it to be approved. Like, you can't just go make your own make. Oh, I'm going to make my own E11 and have some weird looking freaking gun afterwards. No, it has to be an exact E11. It has to look right. I mean, these guys do that, and then they go out all the time, and all they do is they push the love of Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, before we get off of here, let's do a little rapid fire, starting with... Bing!
Yeah.
Starting with
If I had
favorite movie.
Starting with what?
Starting with Brian and favorite movie of all of the movies.
Oh,
Rapid fire. What?
I'm gonna piss some people off. Last Jedi.
Okay. Chris.
It changes every day. It's between Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, I really flip-flop with the two of them.
Yeah.
Christina. Rogue One.
For me, it's just for personal reasons, Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
Another quick, we're going to do a couple more before we get out of here. Favorite ship?
Millennium Falcon.
The Executor.
Ooh.
Christina?
T-65 Incom X-Wing.
I got to say the same thing, X-Wing. And last but not least, favorite character other than Vader, Luke, or Han?
Damn
or
you.
Leia?
Oh, this
Damn
is
you.
good. This is easy.
Who goes first?
Go ahead.
Christina.
Jyn Erso.
Okay.
Chris?
Brian?
Okay. Hondo and Naka.
Chris?
Love Honda.
9-Nub.
Suck up.
Yes.
Admiral
ass.
9-Nub.
For me right now, I'd say it's Hera.
Hera's Hera is up there with me as well. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I went out of my way to find the Hera pop. Like, but Jyn is just because her story actually ends up very tragic. She actually does sacrifice herself for the cause, and that's why I had to give it to Jyn.
Yeah.
But Hera is a very close. I mean, like, there's only a hair between Hera and Jyn. Just to put that out there.
Yeah.
If you love if you love the Jyn Erso sacrifice and Rogue One, definitely pick up the story arc in the Star Wars canon comic book where Luke and company go to Jeddah and Luke learns the story of Rogue One.
Yeah, that one that's a damn good arc.
Yeah. So on that note, we're going to bring this train wreck of an anniversary show to an end.
motherfuckers!
Ding!
Chris, why don't you tell them where they can find you on the interwebs?
Well, later on tonight, in about a half an hour, you can find me at Twitch TV/WildHigh77 as Brian Miller and myself present a live Journal of the Jedi as we get to play as murder bears at Blink in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh,
Also,
God,
you can
help
find
us
me.
all.
You can also find me on realmofthemist.com. And don't forget, at the beginning of the month, and I'm putting this out here on a Star Wars show because we have some other Star Wars hosts here that may want to be a part of it. Brian and I last month, or this current month, had done a audio commentary to The Last Jedi. And the first week of May, we will be doing an audio commentary of Rogue One.
Ooh, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me.
So those who wish to be involved, make sure you keep an eye on it because we're going to do every Star Wars movie one a month. So
Nice.
next is Rogue One.
All right.
And of course, you can find me on Breaking the Fourth Wall at SoundCloud and at Patreon. Make sure you guys are checking us out. Realm of the Mist. Just look us up. We're right there.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Brian's. No, Chris just said it. We are now on SoundCloud, so we're moving up in the world.
Moving on up to the side.
So
Got
please
that
donate
deluxe
Patreon so I can afford
apartment
it.
in the sky.
Yes. And Christina, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm currently fighting with Facebook to change the name of my Facebook page, which is right now Christina Tali. I don't know how successful I'm going to be. Also on YouTube under That Trans Geek Girl, where you can catch all my shows. Same thing on the Facebook page, whatever's preferable to you guys, or both, please. I'm also have a Patreon page, which is Christina Tali. I'm on Twitter under trans_vixen, which is all other show updates and everything else. Also on Twitch is Kava Biodera. And I'm also been playing the crap out of Overwatch as Kava. So if you play Overwatch on PC, come find me. That's KAYVI.
Brian, where can they find you at? Other than
you guys
Kansas.
can find me at the other than Kansas, yeah. And if we're lucky, you'll be able to find me here, after storm season's coming up. You guys can find me at the Star Wars Canon Library on YouTube. You guys can find me doing Journal of the Jedi with Chris every week, which we're getting ready to, like he said, film that episode tonight. I cannot wait. I was watching gameplay of Ewok Hunt today on YouTube, and I was about to piss myself laughing because I cannot wait to play this. But we're gonna be shooting that here in about a half hour. You guys can find me on the Facebook page for the Canon Library, right here on War of the Stars once in a while. Make sure to visit the website www.starwarscanonlibrary.com. If you're interested in an entire timeline of everything canon, chronologically placed at this point, it's there. If you need help finding canon material, there's cover art for every comic issue, every novel, every film poster, even the Clone Wars episodes in chronological order. So make sure to check that out. And that's really about it.
Oh, and let's not forget that you can hear this wonderful podcast and all the other great Realm of the Myths podcasts every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on radiocastfm.com.
That's right. Woo! And as always, you can find me on Facebook at Mark Tolly and also on Twitter at John Mark Tolly 1 because, as always, I'm the #1 John Mark Tolly on Twitter. Also,
He put a #1 just to make that happen.
I did. Yes.
Just to use that line.
That's right.
I'm the only Christina Tali on any social media.
As always, like and subscribe. Check out Patreon. Check out SoundCloud. Check out everywhere that we are. You can listen to this fine podcast. And as always, remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
And also with you.
Later, guys. Murder bears!
These people scare me. Help me. Save me.
Murder bears! They blink. It's scary.
And